All right. Welcome to the Chico de Manuel Show. What did I want to talk about to open today? The power of perspective. Yeah, I know I've talked about the power of perspective before in the past. I'm an advocate of perspective. I think it's extremely powerful. And once you learn to harness it and use it as a force in your life to achieve the things that you want to achieve, it's a hell of a thing. So, I guess to start off, for the sake of transparency, right now, I am currently housed in a homeless shelter. I've been here for maybe like 2-3 weeks. In between that and just my health in general, not like I'm like deathly ill or some shit like that, but you can hear it in my voice, like I'm still, like from the last episode to now, like the last episode was horrible. It was terrible to listen to. I probably sound a lot better than that now, but it's still something that I'm working through. The air quality in here and the hygiene quality in here is not the greatest, to say the least, but we'll get to all that. So, just want to talk about in terms of living in a homeless shelter. Like it's actually been a rather, I don't want to say pleasant, that's not the word, but it's been a humbling experience, you know, to see firsthand how an area like this is being used. Now, mind you, all the times in my life before when I've been homeless, like I was outdoors. I was either outdoors or I was either, you know, in like a hotel or a hostel or some shit like that for a period of time. So, you know, this homeless shelter thing is kind of new for me. Now, one thing about the experience in particular that stands out to me is kind of how it's beginning to become clear to me that no matter where I go, I'm going to be a leader. It just is. I grew up, I spent my teenage years in a lot of boys' homes, and like, you know, like they used to tell me that shit in there, like, you're a leader. And I'm like, who the fuck's a leader? Like, I'm not leading anyone. I'm just kind of doing my own thing and it's working out for me. They was like, yeah, a leader. And I was like, nah. Like, I heavily rejected that premise. I did not want to be a leader in any fashion. Like, I didn't want anything to do with leadership. Like, I just kind of wanted to just do my own thing, go my own way. But I realized after doing a lot of soul searching and figuring out the type of person I am that there is no go my own way option. Like, with the way that I'm going to take, somebody else is going to want to go there probably for the same reason that I want to go the way I'm going. And people are going to look up to me. People are going to, you know, want to know what I know. People are going to want to hear what I have to say. And those characteristics kind of put you in a leadership position whether you want to be or not. Like it's not really an option at that point. So, another thing about this experience is like my attitude towards other people, other homeless people in here, like faced with like my current maturity level, like where I am mentally in my personal development, like it's really got to be like a case by case thing. Like there is no blanket statement that wouldn't work both ways. Like I could say some of them are ungrateful pieces of shit, and I could say some of them are some of the nicest, most kind, friendly people I've ever met, and I'm happy to have known them even in this situation. There really is no blanket statement where it's just like, nah, I look at the homeless this way, nah, I look at the homeless that way. Like, no, it's just kind of reiterates the importance of why everything needs to be on a case-by-case basis. Like, there is no one-size-fits-all way to categorize people. Yeah, we all got 2 arms and legs and a brain and body parts and all that shit. Yeah, like, I get those similarities, but, like, every person is a unique circumstance, like, legitimately unique. And it's worth noting. So, like, I understand. Like, I understand that some people don't see this as an opportunity. Some people just see it as housing, free housing that they can only access overnight, but they're okay with that. They will bullshit through the day and happily come here at night and get fed and wake up and do it again and feel no compunction or no desire to, like, elevate out of that situation. Like, the services they offer here in regards to housing are hardly used by the vast majority of the occupants in this motherfucker. Like, they don't. Like, it's there for them. Like, I use it. I just went and got a copy of my birth certificate so I could get into this rapid rehousing program. Like, there were only like 2 or 3 other people that came with me to do that. And it's like a rolling tally of maybe like 150 people or so that come through here on any given night. So it's like, when I see that, there's part of me that feels bad. Like, part of me is like, God damn, that's fucked up, man. But then the other part of me is like, well, shit, it must not be fucked up enough. It must not be. I understand, like, well, what I just went through with my drug addiction, like, it became enough. Like, I was able to, at a minimum, foresee the lack of a bright future going down this path. Like, I was going to end up like the people I sought out when I was in that mindset. And I don't want that. In addition to all that, I've met a couple women in here who, at first glance, you think, like, what the fuck are you doing in the shelter? Like, what are you doing here? Like, beautiful, black, intelligent women. Like, it's been rather refreshing. Like, I've been able to sit and I've been able to chat with them and get to know them a little bit. Both beautiful in their own regard, like, both mentally competent. Like, just catches. And it's like, it's a weird situation in that regard, because, like, you want to make moves, you want to do what you do, but at the same time, it's like, your situation fucked up. Like, our situation fucked up. Like, this would be a horrible time to make any moves right now. Like, if you expect to win. And by win, I mean get the girl. So it's like, it also makes me think that I'll be the type of nigga who complains about the dating scene and how there are so few women out there that want to play the long game. And then it dawned on me, like, this is the long game. This is the long game. Like, they've got to see me at a point which they could consider low. And I've got a good enough personality. I've got good enough swagger, riz, whatever you want to call it, to where, like, you know, I can at least be on somebody's radar. Like, a motherfucker might not be ready to do nothing now, blah, blah, blah. But if they do, I'll be on somebody's radar. Then if by the next time they see me, I've improved, it's like, this is long game. This is a long game. So I don't want to get too hung up on the women I've met in here, but I've met some absolutely just gems of women. Like, beautiful black fucking apex specimens, like, for real. And it's just crazy. That's why I really try not to judge anybody, you know, hastily or unfairly. I do judge people, but not hastily or unfairly, you know, because everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a reason for why they're here, and it's not just because they're pieces of shit. So yeah, like I mentioned rapid rehousing earlier. Like it's this program to where, you know, you get income, you get in the program, and you find a place that accepts a rapid rehousing voucher, and they hook you up for 3 months, and then you're on your own, which is cool for me because I really don't want to be on some type of program where I can only work 20 hours a week, or I got fucking the goddamn DHS knocking on my goddamn door every day, making sure I'm not selling drugs or trapping and doing any kind of weird shit, running a sex ring, any kind of crazy shit, you know? So, you know, that's just where I'm at right now. Still trying to find employment after I got fired from Amazon. I would like to go back to Amazon. That's ideally the job I want. Like, Amazon was great, but I digress. So yeah, that's, you know, another part of the experience that kind of, leads me into my next little tidbit. I've been volunteering in this place. I've been doing like security work. I've been cleaning up, like, you know, been helping them unload trucks, like, been doing a lot of stuff. And when I first was coming here, I was kind of looking at the staff. Like, the staff are kind of dicks, man. Like, they kind of fucking rude and unsavory. But after sitting back and watching and getting a better, like, petri dish per se of, like, sample to work with, like, a lot of them is cool. They cool people, you know. They've been through the same thing I've been through, you know, a little older than me, but cool enough to work alongside and handle things and try to make this a safer place for everybody in this motherfucker, you know. And I do not feel like going to the library and just filling up my day every day with bullshit kind of gets exhausting, man. It's a tiring process. So, like, if I get to stay in exchange for doing things that I wouldn't mind doing anyway, like cleaning up and securing the place, doing security, like, I feel like I would be doing that anyways. Like, that's what I need to be doing. I need something to occupy myself, to stay busy, to be productive. Like, I'm kind of addicted to that sensation now. Like, I'm not just gonna float in and out of this bitch redundant and fucking, like, that's not me. I can't get with that vibe. And having a good other two volunteers, and like having a cool work staff, understanding the chain of command to some degree and what's expected of me, and it kind of like simulates work for me, you know. Like, I need work, I need something to do, you know. If I haven't been so fucking cloggy in the nose for a goddamn week or two, like, you know, I'd probably be having a little more energy to go do more stuff. But, like, it's harder to get on the podcast. It's harder to do shit. I got 100 motherfuckers around me. Like, you know, this still got to be a quality product. Like, I do that shit at plasma on occasion. But, like, this needs to be a quality product. I can't just be doing bullshit, you know. But, yeah, man, like, seeing that the staff here, like, actually care. Like, you don't do this if you don't actually care. You don't even volunteer for this if you don't actually care. If I didn't actually care, you know, and let's not act like I don't want the other things involved in it too. Like, yeah, it helps that I get to stay in through the day. Yeah, it helps I get to step out and hit my breeze pin and all that shit. Like, that helps, but it's not a primary motivating factor for me in regards to why I volunteer. You know, I want this place to be safe. I want it to operate how it's supposed to. I want to feel good about what I do, and I want to, you know, provide usefulness in the ways that I'm proficient, you know, just as a man. And, you know, I'm just grateful. Like, I was out on the streets freezing my ass off, and I prayed that I would, like, just get me off the streets. And, like, this by no means is sanctuary. Like, but it's something. It's definitely not nothing. And I am grateful beyond verbal measure. Like, I cannot explain how grateful I am for this place, how grateful I am every day to have a warm place to sleep, to not be outside, to be able to wash my body, be able to take care of my mind, stretch and exercise and eat well and just be completely sought after, you know, by my higher power. Like, it's just another stop on a journey that never ends as far as I'm concerned. Like, this is a never-ending journey. Like, this is just my current challenge. This is where life is taking me right now. This is all a part of the bigger plan. So I'm just being patient. I'm just riding the valleys. Life is a series of valleys. Like, I'm just riding the highs and lows, and I'm enjoying the process, man. Like I said, I'm so grateful. Like, I couldn't consider all the things that happened to me and how they happened and how much and what I had to do with them. Like, I don't think I could be in a better situation, you know, recording this and just not struggling in a way that I see other people are struggling daily. Like, I see a lot of these people, they have nothing. They have nothing. Nowhere to go. No one who gives a fuck. Nothing. Some of these people are mentally ill. And it's a very, very humbling experience to be able to serve these people as a volunteer. Like, I get tired, I get frustrated or whatever, but I'm at the day ultimately honored for the opportunity to be able to do this shit. Like, it is very humbling. Like, is to be able to be a positive aspect in some of these people's lives that have nothing and nobody at all. Like, I thought I had nothing. Like, some of these people, they're elderly. How can I not help? You know? So, to wrap this up, you know, it's giving me a lot of time to reflect, in addition to everything I went through in Vegas, you know. And I think at this point in my life, like, I'm ready to accept the fact that I am a role model. I need to be a role model. I want to be a role model. I want to help people. I want to be a force for good. There is no doubt. There is no uncertainty in my mind. Like, this is what I am here for. And I will not stop doing it until my final breath, you know. For anybody that's seeking, like, useful guidance, like, I've been there. I've been up, I've been down, I've been in between, I've been all of that, man. I understand, like, the curveballs life can throw at you. Life is counterintuitive. It's not an easy thing to get the hang of. But, you know, everything I've been through my life has been an extremely humbling experience, and I thank my higher power every day with the utmost gratitude and that I've been able to do everything I've done. I've been halfway across the world. I've been to 4 countries. Like, I've been all over the United States, like, everywhere. Like, I've been so many places. I've seen so many things. Like, some people have nothing. You know, it's helped me cope, kind of relax my ego a little bit. I'm just thankful, man. I'm so fucking thankful. And while this place is not an ideal setting for me, I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so happy that I've got the experience that I've gotten. And it's an opportunity to show my higher power, like, I'm ready for the next step. And whenever it comes, I'm going to be even more ready by that time. Let's get to the show. All right, so what we got here, courtesy of Fox News. The View co-hosts clash over whether America is a racist country. Quote, can't dismiss my lived experience. Now, I'm going to touch on this later within the episode, but I'm getting tired of people talking about their lived experience, not because I don't believe their lived experience is true, but in a debate setting, when you're talking about serious topics, like, your lived experience is minutia in the grand scheme of every fucking thing that's going on. Like, your lived experience plays a part, but, you know, just because it's your like, what does it mean I can't dismiss your lived experience? Why can't I? Like, I would just like to know why. I'm not saying I can or can't dismiss your lived experience, but why not? Who are you to tell me that I can't dismiss your lived experience? It happens all the time. Like, what do you mean by dismiss? Like, I need to understand. Because as far as I'm concerned, I can quite clearly dismiss your lived experience. Now, whether that's fair or just or not, that's another discussion entirely. But can't dismiss your lived experience? Like, who the fuck is you? Who the fuck am I? What, you know, How can I verify your lived experience is the bigger question. But, and what is a racist country? Like, that's what I like to know. Like, when you hear of a racist country, like, what exactly does that mean? Does the country itself view itself as racist? Like, do you have any country saying, hey, come visit this country, we're racist as hell? Like, I think at this point, the word racism carries a different meaning depending on who you ask. Like, we all understand the basic gist of racism, but, like, for the sake of serious debate and conversation, like, racism is almost like a unique thing depending on who you're talking to. No. But yeah, like, so we got, I've been kind of doing my setup a little differently here. I've been trying to plan it out in advance better. So I've got certain excerpts from this article that I'd like to highlight. It says, the co-host discussed GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley's appearance on Charlemagne the God's The Breakfast Club show. Haley argued division in this country started under the Obama administration and said during the media appearance that she doesn't believe that America is a racist country, but rather that there is racism in America. Excuse me. Well, I would agree with that sentiment. Now, saying that the division in the country started under the Obama administration. What? That's debatable. Like, so, I mean, is she suggesting that until America decided to have a black president that there was no division in this country? I hear older people talking about how the Reagan administration pretty much administered crack cocaine into the black neighborhoods. Like, there's been division in this country since, like, NWA, like, since slavery. Like, what do you mean? What the fuck is she talking about? The only sensible thing that she said is that racism happens here, but it's not really a racist country. I would agree with that. But to say division started under the Obama administration, where the fuck has she been living for the past 20 years? The fuck is she talking about? She sounds stupid. Nikki Haley is not worth paying attention to at all. And then some people might just say you just engaging in doublespeak, like, oh, so the country's not racist, but racism exists here. Like, well, you're just saying the same thing. Like, it's really not. It's really not the same thing. Like, to say that racism exists here, I mean, there's racism everywhere. I don't give a damn what country, what geographical space you go to. There's racism, So, if you, like, by what she's saying, like, everywhere is racist. Like, every country is a racist country if having racist people in it is the basis you use to define how racist it is. So every country will be fucking racist. So America's not a racist country. There is racism here, just like there's racism in Canada and Mexico. There's racism everywhere. Who's committing all the racist acts, by the way? Like, why am I not daily hearing about, white people hanging niggas from trees or some shit like that, or like, some Vietnam vets like showing up to the nail salon and just calling them gooks and standing out front and protesting their existence in the country. Like, where is all of that? Where's all that happening? I think people are stuck in this contemporary racism where it's just like, these things happened in a point in time, and since they actually happened at one point, that's enough for people to just suggest that they're still happening. And they probably are. Like, I can't accurately say that there is no racist activity happening in the country at all. Like, that would be ridiculous to say. However, it's an exception. Like, it's a minute thing. Like, the last people you hear talking about, people make up these stories, like Jussie Smollett. Talk about he was walking out of a subway at 2 a.m. in Chicago where he was jumped by white guys, talk about MAGA and shit. Like, that's obviously bullshit. That's a clear hoax. There's nothing about that that's factual. And that's when you hear about racism nowadays. Like, people that drive around with Confederate flags and you're calling them racist. Like, no, they're just hillbillies. Like, I think if you put them around black people, they might not herald them, but they could function amongst blacks. Like, it's not, Shit, most of these white people, when it comes to their favorite football team and a quarterback or favorite wide receiver being black, that kind of dampens their racism enough to where they can interact with you. They may not ever be 0% racist, but it's like, hey, those niggers are all right, you know? You know, it sounds terrible, but I'll take it if it means I don't have to worry about motherfuckers burning crosses in my yard or, you know, like throwing rocks through my window on some intimidation shit. Fuck it, I'll take progress in its simplest form. It is what it is, you know? It just seems like these race hustlers are trying to cling to this dead narrative that this shit's still happening. And, like, it probably is still happening because it can never be fully eradicated, but it's not a major problem. So, continue. We got another excerpt. She said, well, we don't know that. Coach Joy Behar disagreed. Hostin argued that the FBI director said white supremacy was the biggest threat to our country today. The biggest threat to our country today is white supremacy? The next time you hear somebody say, oh, the biggest threat to this country is white supremacy, ask them, like, what do they mean exactly by white supremacy? What do you mean? What do you mean white supremacy? When you say white supremacy is the biggest threat, what should I be looking for so I can identify it as white supremacy? What exactly is that? Because, like, everything means a different thing depending on who the fuck you ask nowadays, and that's a problem. America is too fucking inclusive and diverse and equitable and all this shit for some shit like that, for white supremacy to be the biggest threat. We got an open border where fucking, you know, Russian terrorists could just, any terrorist, anybody who wants to see America destroyed could just enter through the Mexican-American border. You got droves of immigrants infiltrating the country in the tens of thousands. It could be it's a unmeasurable amount of these motherfuckers. And you worried about white supremacy? Shut the fuck up, man. Dude, has got a YouTube show. It's called The Fallen State, Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. I've seen him have people on his show, and he asks them, he's like, do you believe in white supremacy? And they say yes. And he said, well, why do you think the white man is superior to you? And they start getting all tongue-tied and say, well, hold on, I didn't say this. Like, bro, you just said you believed in white supremacy. How can you believe in white supremacy if you don't believe that the white man is superior to you? Like that's what white supremacy is. That will be what black supremacy is. If you believe in black supremacy, you mean black people are above all. They are supreme. That's what's, matter of fact, let's take a second. Look up the word supreme so we know what the fuck we talking about. What's the definition of the word supremacy?
Here's the definition of supremacy. The state or condition of being superior to all others in authority, power, or status.
So this is why I like to look up words. People might think I'm being nitpicky. I've said this a million times before. If you don't know what the fuck supremacy means because you've never looked it up, but you just used it in conversation 10,000 times, you are operating at a disadvantage. You are damn near stupid. You're using words that you don't know what they mean, and you're convincing people of half-thought ideas with half-understood words. What does it say? The state or condition of being superior to all others in authority, power, or status. So, yeah, when he says, why do you believe the white man is supreme to you? You don't believe that, but you believe in white supremacy. Those concepts bump. You got to believe. If you believe in white supremacy, you're saying the white man is supreme to you. Duh. Use a dictionary, you dumb fucks. Simple shit. To continue, that still doesn't mean that it's the vast majority of people. I just don't believe in my day-to-day life that the people you're encountering harbor racist viewpoints, Farrah Griffin continued. Hostin responded, if you looked like me, you would believe differently. I think that there is a significant portion that are racist, and you can't dismiss my lived experience, Hostin said as the audience applauded. Griffin quickly responded and said, I never would. Okay, so a lot of problems with that excerpt. The fact that you come in and say, I think that there's a significant portion that are racist and you can't dismiss my lived experience. Like I said in the beginning, I can't verify it either. I can't tell you you didn't see what you saw. But if I wasn't there to see you living your life, to witness it firsthand, then what the fuck good is that? If I just got to take your word for it and that's the argument, that's useless. That's useless. Means nothing. You think that a significant portion of people are racist. Like, so what the fuck? What do you know? I really don't care about what you think as much as I care about what you know. You think most people walking around America are racist? Why do you think that? You know? And don't say I just can't dismiss your lived experience, because in my lived experience, I haven't experienced it like that. And you can't dismiss my shit neither. So when you encounter situations where I can do what you do to me effectively with no barriers, it cancels out. It's like you having a sword and I have a sword. Yeah, we both could likely stab each other in the stomach and kill each other. I got just as much defense as you have attack. Cancel out. You know? Why can't we challenge your lived experience? Like, why how else do we learn and gain knowledge if we don't challenge shit? Nobody's dismissing your lived experience, but I do have questions. You know, I do have questions. We just supposed to accept your anecdotes like that just because you lived it, it's true. Like, you lived it, so I can't challenge that. No. That shit's not concrete. It's nothing. You know? That whole, and then this whole if you look like me shit. I hate that. I hate when black people say, people who look like me, so if you look like me in this country, like, what do you mean? Nigga, my nose ain't as big as yours. Your eyebrows is thin as hell. Mine are thick and bushy. You don't even have a beard. You clean shaven. What the fuck? I don't look like you. We probably got the same general ancestors, but in terms of our bloodline and shit, we probably nowhere even close. Nigga, I don't know you. Never seen your ass before. People that look like you, what, your family members? You can't say black people, people of color, colored folk, African American, without offending somebody somewhere. Fuck it. Just say blacks, black people, all these blacks. Like, I understand the sting of the way it sounds when you say, like, blacks in this country. It's like, well, okay, so I got if I say black people, people of color, colored people, oh, it's suddenly acceptable. Like, look, black people, I don't hear you saying, like, I don't hear white people saying people that look like me. They say they're white folks. The fuck? This is woke-inspired version of direct language. And it's toxic as fuck. If you sitting there talking to black people who dodge describing themselves as what they is, you just need to quit talking to them. If you talking to a black person that can't say I'm black, I'm a person of color. I'm Afro-divergent or just whatever, some bullshit they want to make up just to not say they're black. Stop talking to these motherfuckers. They gonna hit you with all kind of goofy ass evasive parlance that just make the whole discussion futile. There's no point in talking to a motherfucker when we can't even nail down the vocabulary we're using. Like, if I need to constantly clarify simple to understand terms, like, why? Like white supremacy and racism. Like, if you don't know what that means, how can we talk? If I use a word and you don't know what it means, we either need to stop and get on the same page, or it's like, how can we ever be synchronized in our thoughts? How can we ever reach a conclusion if we're not even talking the same language? You know? So in conclusion, I would say, is America a racist country? I would say if America's a racist country, then every country in the world is racist. Because there's racism everywhere. There are countries that have more than one race in them. And there are stupid people. There are people who are just simple-minded and they discriminate against people simply on the basis of their color. But I think those people in the grand scheme, in a broader scheme of humanity, in the modern society, are on the fringe. Because they know that shit just wouldn't hold water. You can't just, like, really just openly be racist and not, like, massively hated for it. Like, it's not really a thing people like anywhere. Like, you have to find a small community of like-minded individuals if you're going to harbor them kind of ideologies. Like, you can't just walk up in the church and be like, hey, you know what? Fuck all these niggers. Like, that shit's not going to fly. It's just not. You know? It really depends on who you ask. Like, racism ain't really like a topic that you can even talk about with integrity, and what used to be something clear and understandable what racism was, it's not that no more. This shit has been obscured with new meaning that make it difficult to stay on the same topic while you're talking. That's why talking to these people is stupid. It's fruitless. It's nonsense. Don't talk to them. If somebody asks you a dumbass question like, do you think America is a racist country? Just walk away. In the conversation, Especially if y'all ain't got the same definition of racism and supremacy and using all this woke language, all this new shit. Cut it short or prepare for a migraine of epic proportions. All right, let's keep this thing moving. Next up, let me get to my notes here. I was gonna write some shit, but I didn't. Yeah, so this is courtesy of The Guardian. Says, I was puzzled by younger women's reaction to Barbie. It turned out Gen Z men held the answer. So, answer to what? Like, where was the question? It turned out Gen Z men held the answer. Like, bad headline. Like, where, answer to what? Puzzled by younger women's reaction to Barbie? Like, what the fuck? And then, spoiler alert, the article doesn't even really, like, Barbie was just name dropped. Like, I don't really know. Like, I get why it's in there, but it shouldn't be. I might be a bit of a pessimist, but to suggest that Gen Z has the answer to anything besides like laziness and entitlement, it would be a bit much for me. That's a bit of a reach. And what about young women's reaction to Barbie is puzzling. Like, it was designed for women. Like, as a person who went and saw it, didn't really enjoy it, it was made for women. It's a feminist wet dream, period. But, I don't know. Let's get involved with the article. Taylor Swift is many things, but she did not, at least until recently, look like the battleground on which an election could be fought. Though on reflection, maybe it makes a weird kind of sense. Like Donald Trump, whose allies are said to be threatening a remarkably silly-sounding, quote, holy war against the singer. Fucking Swift is I got distracted with text messages, whatever. Swift is an unstoppable cultural phenomenon with a deep hold over the American psyche. She epitomizes what many young women want to be, powerful but joyful, financially independent, patently not in need of a man, but having zero trouble getting one, while he stands for all those threatened by the subversion of the patriarchal order. All right, so, we've been talking about Taylor Swift lately because she's been all over NFL headlines because I guess she's dating Travis Kelce. I don't know what the fuck they got going on because I really don't care. But I've seen memes like defending Taylor Swift, which I don't have a problem with people defending Taylor Swift. I'm just wondering where the attack is coming from. Like, people commenting on you is not an attack. People say, don't come for me. It's like, no, if I come for you, you'll know that I'm coming for you. Me making this shallow comment is not tantamount to coming for you. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. Like, I mean it exactly how I said. Like, ain't nobody think about your motherfucking ass. Like, don't come for you. Trust me, I'm not. But no one's coming for Taylor Swift. I just wish I didn't have to see her if I tune in to see a football game. Like, a football game lasts 3 hours and she just wants 30 seconds to be with her boyfriend. Yeah, do it off the air. You got all the rest of the time until the next football game to spend with this nigga. Why do we need 30 seconds of you? You act like just because it's 30 seconds, it's tolerable. No. You stay on your network. We'll watch NFL in this bitch. I turned on to watch NFL, not to sing Shake It Off. That's what I'm saying. Another point, to suggest that she's a battleground for an election to be fought, oh, that's a reach. Like, it's just because she has a legion of fans who are probably Democrats or liberals, to say that fucking she's a battleground for an election to be fought on, like, that's kind of steep, don't you think? The battleground for an election to be fought on, I would patently disagree, since we talking about patently, hell no. What has she done to get involved in politics? Has Tay-Tay done anything politically notable? Is she telling people to get out and vote Democrat? I feel like, I might have seen her like in one of them Puff Daddy propagandas, like telling people vote or die. All that kind of stupid shit. But yeah, I doubt it highly. I don't think she's doing that. And if Tay-Tay epitomizes the quintessential independent woman that our society so fiercely covets, you know, a feminist icon sticking it to the old patriarchy with a stranglehold on the American psyche, then we're fucked. We are fucked. Like, she's just a pop singer. She's a pop singer. All these people run around talking about, I'm a Swiftie. No, your ass is a loser. You are a loser. You can like Taylor Swift and not be a fucking Swiftie. What the hell is that, bro? I'm not gonna walk around saying I'm no goddamn Swiftie. That's like me because I'm a weekend fan. That's like me saying, I'm a weekday. I'm one of the weekdays. No, that's fucking dumb, bro. And this is the problem with feminism. Like, feminism is bad for all parties. There is no utopian endgame regarding feminism. Feminism is bad for everybody involved, even women. It's the precipice of egotism. And pride goes before fall. To continue with the article, set aside Trump's obvious fear of her endorsing Joe Biden, and what seems to trigger a small but furious minority is the female empowerment she personifies, which they interpret as male emasculation. What makes all this worth taking seriously, meanwhile, is how startlingly young some of these grumpy reactionaries are. Okay, gotta interrupt again. Trump's fear of her endorsing Joe Biden? I don't think Trump's afraid of that. I don't think Trump is afraid of anybody endorsing Joe Biden. That's not an actual fear. That's your interpretation of fear, which your ability to interpret fear accurately sucks. Bad as fuck. And a small but furious minority is the female empowerment she personifies. How does she personify female empowerment? How does anyone do that? By being a pop star? So every female pop star personifies female empowerment? What about the ones who go out there and portray themselves as rampant whores? What about those? Is that female empowerment too? Because I feel like a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women, when they talk about empowerment, they end up writing memoirs about becoming whores and discovering their sexual freedom and all this other shit that men find unappealing. But then again, it's not meant to appease to men, but that's beside the fact. Like, you went on a horror venture when you didn't have to. You could have done something else. It's not like you was on a sexuality journey and just found out you was a whore. Like, this was just something you deliberately delved off into because you thought it was liberating. Anywho, to continue, something is happening to Gen Z that belies lazy, woke stereotypes. As young women become dramatically more liberal, young men are getting more conservative, not only in the U.S., but according to a Financial Times analysis, from South Korea to Germany, Poland to China. Though the divide is relatively modest in Britain, polling this week found that 1 in 5 British men aged 16 to 29 who have heard of him think warmly of Andrew Tate. The YouTube misogynist is currently facing charges in Romania of rape and human trafficking, which he denies. So much for all those well-meaning school assemblies on toxic masculinity. Oh, boy. All right. Unfortunately, it is a pinch of truth in the whole male insecurity trope when it comes to this female empowerment shit. There are an existential percentage of beta males out there who actually feel some type of way about successful women. I would think those are the only men who really would feel emasculated by, like, Taylor Swift being a famous pop star. Oh my God, Taylor Swift was named Person of the Year. That makes me feel like less of a man. I don't actually care. It doesn't make me feel anything. I'm completely indifferent to Taylor Swift's success or failure. I don't care. I would never date her, poor or celebrity. I wouldn't care. If she was an average chick, I would never date a Taylor Swift. She's not attractive to me. Real men don't succumb to that shit. Real men understand the feminine way and how women actually work, regardless of what the fuck they say. Women will say one thing and do another. And humans will also say one thing and do another, but I mean in the sense of, like, what they feel and what they want. They will say how they feel about what they want, but what they want has nothing to do really with how they feel in a long-term sense. Like, they'll say that shit now, but what they want is what they want, regardless of what they say. Men tend to be a lot more direct because we're logical creatures. We just get straight to the point. We don't need to bombard you with an emotional scavenger hunt before you figure out what's really going on. Like, we'll just tell you, bitch, you getting on my fucking nerves with all that loud-ass music. Turn it down. It's not going to be like, hey, do you feel like listening to quiet sounds? Do quiet sounds soothe you? Like, nah, fuck all that. Turn that shit down. You know? And it's not really beneficial at all to delve off in the whole men built the goddamn world you live in. Like, we don't even, we understand that. That monologue is more. Men and women are separate entities with their own innate strengths and weaknesses at an individual level. When you combine these strengths and weaknesses without ego and arrogance, it's a beautiful reaction. It's a beautiful thing. It contributes to the continuity of human existence. It keeps us going. And feminists want to destroy this so they can essentially masquerade as men and suggest how unnecessary men actually are whilst trying to become one, whether they see it that way or not. Women can get caught up in their masculine energy and essentially perform masculine duties and then conflate performing masculine duties efficiently with actually being a man. It's not. You'll never be a man, just like I'll never be a woman. They mentioned Andrew Tate, and they still put their little flavor on it. Oh, he's a misogynist, which I don't think that's true. Andrew Tate's not a misogynist. Andrew Tate's just a powerful man, and they don't like that. And he emboldens other men to be powerful men, and they don't like that because they cannot control powerful men, and they shouldn't be able to. They mentioned his human trafficking and rape charges that he denies. And as far as I know, he ain't been charged with anything. He's facing charges, but, he hasn't been charged with anything. And quick shout out to the allegations brigade who jizzed their fucking pants over moral victories at every opportunity. I'm also sick of hearing about fucking toxic masculinity too. Largely in part because most of the feminists who espouse that bullshit never even consider what toxic femininity looks like or even the possibility that it exists. Ask a feminist about toxic masculinity and she will give you a filibustered, bullshit-ass response that's completely irrelevant, completely off base, serves nobody and nothing. It's misandry at its best. These are radical feminists, and radical feminists, in my opinion, are the equivalent of these MGTOW men, these men going their own way. You are just bitter about the innate behaviors of the opposite sex. You're just bitter. You are just fucking bitter. Let me see here, man. This is a lot more. I kind of ran over a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to read the rest of this. I'll try to get through it. The world of she's everything, he's just kin. Suppressed with all the suppressed male resentment that implies is closer to their reality than ours. Though I know of more than one liberal mother aghast to hear her teenage sons parroting arguments from Tate videos. I mean, that's what women do. They act like they're so brave and courageous to spite men. And when a man says anything remotely masculine, they shriek in horror and they feign bewilderment that a man wants to do manly things and just doesn't really vibe with being just can. While the glam and glitz of her life is the real marquee. Get fucking real. Seriously. Get fucking real. To continue, I think this wraps this up. For some young man, the anti-feminist backlash seems to have been a gateway drug to harder views on issues from immigration to social justice. As the Oxford academic James Tilley's Radio 4 series, The Kids Are Alt-Right, recently highlighted, young people have fueled the rise of far-right as well as far-left parties in France, Spain, Italy, and Germany. Across Europe and the U.S., anti-immigration rhetoric is being explicitly linked with failing fertility rates and resulting demands for white women to knuckle down and have babies. On the fringes of British conservatism, meanwhile, all this mingles with an ugly and economically illiterate argument that competition from immigrants is what's really stopping the young getting into the housing ladder or into top universities. Blame anyone but the government. In other words, For young lives being so tough, blame inclusiveness if you feel left out in the cold. To boys who see their fathers as arguably having had life much easier, it's a potentially powerful message. Okay, so the broad takeaway is from this clunky, thoughtless ass, whatever excerpt, whatever this was, is that men are angry crybabies, upset that women have liberated themselves and don't care how they feel about it. To suggest that the rise of the far right is a gateway drug to harsher attitudes on other issues undermines why these people actually feel how they do about it. You're not allowed to say that you don't want illegal immigrants flooding your country because you suddenly become some kind of ist because you don't think everyone should get God-given intrinsic access to your homeland with no protocol or policy. Fuck it. Just let them sleep in your streets. Work undocumented. And, work undocumented for fucking egregious margins that can never support an American family. What do you think they're doing with all these immigrants? What you think? Why would you just let somebody come in and just sleep in airports or sleep in schools? We about to put your ass to work. Why you think it's really just they all just need asylum? Really, all of them. Every single immigrant needs asylum. And they need it now. Get the fuck out of here, man. Let them sleep in your schools, let them occupy your airports. And when you ask what's up, you get told to fuck off. Just let it happen then. If that's how you really feel about that shit. It's fucking stupid. So to wrap this all up, if Taylor Swift's popularity is a fucking threat or some kind of dog whistle symbolism for the downfall of the alleged patriarchy, you best start packing your bags. If you don't have conservative views already and you don't want to witness a downward spiral into fucking Armageddon, wake your ass up. Because it's coming. To even try to slide Taylor Swift into this, remember we mentioned the Barbie movie in the beginning, like, oh, what was that? Gen Z men had the answer. What's the answer? Were they saying far right is the answer? I mean, I would agree with that, but like, what's the fucking answer? These are the people writing your articles, giving you your news. They're telling you that Taylor Swift can influence an American election if she tells people to vote for Joe Biden. It's all fucking stupid, folks. All fucking stupid. All right, let's get to the meat and two veg. CNBC. Men benefit more from their looks at work than women do, new research shows. Man, you all know how much I love me a good new study and research report. I'm curious on how this is going to end up making sense. Like, just the headline alone is like, men benefit more from their looks at work than women do. Like, who the fuck is sitting around thinking of this? Some dumb feminist. Like, aha, I figured out a way to prove that men benefit more than women do. Oh my God. Like, nobody worth their salt in research is actually spending actual time on this actual bullshit. What do they mean exactly by benefit? How exactly do men benefit simply by being handsome? Men don't really have a lot of real estate in the realm of beauty, last I checked. But hey, maybe I'm just inept. Maybe I just been sleeping under a fucking rock for too many years. But I digress. This right here is like a leftist breaking ball hanging right over the fucking plate. So let's get involved. Says new research upends the trope that women use their looks to get ahead in their careers, showing that men actually reap greater benefits from being attractive in the workplace. A recent study of more than 11,000 Americans conducted over 20 years has found that good-looking men are more likely to attain better jobs and make more money than similarly attractive women. I really want to interrupt for too long. So I'm going to just say this and I'll keep reading. What about, like, OnlyFans and Chatterbait and shit like that? Like, are men reaping the benefits in that workplace? Because that is work. That is a profession. These aren't prostitutes. They're sex workers. So if this is their work, how are men benefiting from that more than women? Get back to me on that. You ain't got to answer that right now. Get back to me on that. I'm just curious. Anyway, in 1993, two sociologists from the University of Oslo and the Polish Academy of Sciences identified young Americans between the ages of 12 and 18 using data from the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent Health. Alexei Gugashvili and Balczak, Grzegorz space Bulczac, Balczak. Man, I hate mispronouncing people's names. Grzegorz Balczak recorded participants' demographic information and socioeconomic status. Then asked volunteers to rate the participants' physical attractiveness on a 4-point scale: very attractive, attractive, unattractive, and very unattractive. In the report, Gugashvili and Balczak explained that they chose to base the research on teenagers' perceived attractiveness, as adults have greater financial means to manipulate or enhance their physical appearance, like getting plastic surgery, so those scores would feel less genuine. 2 decades later, when the participants had reached their late 30s, the researchers compared the attractiveness scores of the 15-year-old volunteers to their current career status. Was I not spot on? It seems to me that even for scientific purposes, these qualities are just way too subjective to carry a whole lot of weight. Like, I haven't even really gotten to the workplace explanation yet, but I don't, this is pointless. Like, is anybody actually contesting that men get more with their looks in the workplace? Like, is that a real claim? Like, it doesn't sound like one. I haven't heard anybody say, you know what, goddammit, Jerry just gets the fuck off because he's hot. Like, I've never heard anybody say anything like that, ever. And I've been in a lot of workplaces. As a matter of fact, excuse me, I just came from Amazon, and I'll tell you straight up, like, being hot only gets you something if you're a girl. I worked along a very incompetent female who was in charge, who constantly talked about how she was going to leave that area and just never did. She just never did. She just floated around, bounced around that bitch all day, doing nothing, getting suspended and shit. And it just cannot be for her work output. Like, it's got to be because she's hot. You don't do enough. That minuscule ass work output is tantamount to a goddamn pack of juicy fruit. That shit's nothing. And then we basing it on how attractive teenagers are. That's a little fucking weird, don't you think? Like, it's scientific. I get that. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt here. I understand, you know, it's still a little weird, a little odd. We're going to say, hey, this 15-year-old's hot. Let's check on them in 15 years to see how hot they are based on where they're working. Like, I don't see the point in conducting no 20-year-old study on this shit. Whatever the answer is. It could just be me. But it's strange that this is what great minds, universities or whatever, this is what they're studying. This is the shit that they deem worthy. It's fucking stupid. They discovered that those who had moved up the corporate ladder the fastest and were earning the most were the men who had been deemed very attractive as teenagers. Even with potential obstacles like coming from a low-income household or growing up in a dangerous neighborhood, attractive men still managed to achieve upward mobility. Good-looking women had a slight advantage in their careers over other women deemed less attractive, but men saw the greatest benefits from their physical appearance, according to the report. This suggests that for men, being attractive plays a significant role in your professional success, whether it's getting a raise, a promotion, or access to more competitive jobs, says Gugashvili. Then why are unattractive men still successful professionally? Why? Because men understand that getting the job done is getting the job done. Women also understand that. I mean, they do. Being good looking certainly helps. It does. But ultimately, it's a subjective trait that you can only enhance. You can't really improve. Like, you cannot really make yourself look better than what you are, because what does that look like, first of all? What does that look like? But, like, you cannot, second, you can't actually look better. You look how you look. If your nose is crooked, some people might look at you like, what the fuck is up with that? Like, why you brokey nose ass nigga? Some people might be off put by it. Some people might like it. Some people might think it's a defining characteristic. Look at Anthony Davis and that fucking unibrow. Most people would not want a unibrow. This nigga leans into the unibrow, like, full on. And I guarantee there's still some women out there that find his pelican face ass hot. Like, they into that shit. And that's just the point of what I'm saying. You know, some don't care either way. Some ain't bothered by whether you got a unibrow. Some people look at your personality more than they look at your looks. You know? Good looks benefit everybody somehow. If you good looking, if you really good looking, if you kind of good looking, like, it kind of depends on the realm and domain in which you getting involved and to what degree your looks play a role in that. It's not so univariate like they're trying to make it seem like, oh, well, you're hotter, that's why you make more money. So we just gonna undermine all the, what if he showed up to work earlier? What if he had a higher output? What if he was more consistent? What if he asked more questions? What if he paid attention more? What if he stayed more, like, you know? We just gonna undermine all that and say, oh, just because you're hotter, you got it better than me. You're more attractive. And you were more attractive 15 years ago when these weird-ass Polish scientists asked me about it. Yeah, excuse me, Mr. 15-year-old. Do you want to be in a study about how hot you are? Bad Polish accent, I know. I don't know what those fucking people sound like. Don't care. But, you know, I just don't, you know. This whole thing is just, it's stupid. And it's got heavy feminist undertone, like heavy. Now check out the spin on this next shit, like on how looks also benefit men. And let me warn you, they bringing out the fucking heavy artillery for this. So, you know, shield up. Other research has shown that many of the characteristics people use to describe strong, capable leaders are masculine. Quote, it's not a coincidence that many U.S. presidents, for example, have been men that are over 6 feet tall, says Jenny Blumenthal, the founder and CEO of Corporate Rehab, a leadership consulting firm. We tend to assume that someone stronger, taller, and better looking than their peers is more capable of leading, which automatically puts women at a disadvantage. Gugushvili and Bolshak found that women's attractiveness is typically characterized by weak, feminine traits like being passive, agreeable, tender, and loving. Gugushvili also points out that some corporate cultures favor masculine traits. So while men are expected to lead with decisiveness, women are discouraged from taking up jobs with a high level of authority and given harmful labels such as difficult or bossy because it's seen as unattractive. In other words, being an attractive woman is incompatible with the ingrained stereotypes and expectations people might hold for business leaders. Blumenthal, a former Fortune 500 executive, says that female leaders suffer from a, quote, likability trap. You have to be liked enough to be invited to the table, but not so likable that you're considered a pushover or not qualified to be a leader, says Blumenthal. There are still these limiting gender biases that we haven't overcome. Well, duh, Ms. Blumenthal. Duh. Seems like you should have known that part. So, like, question, are you basically saying that it's men's fault that women are biologically not tailored to present powerful masculine images that project leadership capability? Is that what you're saying? There's plenty of authoritative and power-wielding women who are known for their capability and perspicacity, like, off top. I could think of what, like, Judge Judy, Olivia Benson from SVU, you got fucking Charlie's Angels, you know? If you look at that shit, if you just be like, say, oh, well, men have broader shoulders and more muscle density and bone density, like, I can't, you know, if you look at that shit as a disadvantage, I can see why you bitch and whine about it. Because you feel like you're at a disadvantage, because you frame everything through a victim lens. Like, come on now, for real. However, if you just step back and try to look at things a little differently, if you look at it as competing against men for what you want, competing against men for what you want. As a woman, you're competing against men for a common reward. Like, y'all, what we want is the same thing. More money, bigger house, bigger tits, whatever. You're competing against men to be financially well off. And that's a fierce competitive realm. And when you look at it like that, you can begin to understand that the male domain of competition is at a much higher level. Much higher level. I'm not saying women aren't competitive, but the level at which men compete at is a higher echelon of competition. Like it's the major leagues, the majorest of major leagues. And you need thicker skin if you're going to operate in that realm. Motherfuckers don't give about all these bitching and complaining and shit, all this little vague-ass laundry list of complaints and grievances you got. Nobody give a fuck about that. Can you compete or can you not? It's a little bit of Darwinism for you. Like, you gonna sink or swim? You know? To claim the automatic disadvantage cards is a cop-out, in my opinion. Like, you just say, oh, well, he's already 6 feet tall and he's already got this, so why the fuck should I even try? I should just be a little housewife. So, yeah, well, nobody said that. If that's what you want to do, I mean, you go ahead. Nobody said that. Those words never left anyone's mouth. You know? And real men don't look for just weakness in a woman that they admire. Those are weak men who seek out docile women who they could domineer and control. And if I'm not a weak man, I'm not subject to the criticism that's attributed to weak men. Like weak nigga shit, that don't apply to me. I don't just look for a girl like, oh, she gonna cook and clean and do whatever I say and da-da-da, and then she's just gonna stay in the house and never see her family and that's not me. Sorry. You know? It's up to a man to decide that he ain't gonna no longer be no weak ass nigga and he gonna do the work to become a better person. He's gonna actually choose to improve himself. That's up to him though. No one can make you do that as a man. But that's what separates real strong men from these weak ass beta cucks. You know? I've worked for many women in my experience, and very, very few have been like bossy. And the ones that were tended to be more incompetent than women who showed up and did their jobs. They was friendly, but they was firm, you know. They'd chat with you and shit, but they kind of drew their line, like whether they was going to be receptive to all that kind of extra shit, you know. And then they went home. Showed up, did their jobs, was friendly, feminine, inspirational, but firm, solid, knew who they was, and they went home. Like, you know, plenty of them. The vast majority of them, I would say. So many people are conflating telling people what to do or being in charge with having some actual leadership experience and a foundation to base this to base this bossiness off of. You know, motherfuckers want to direct traffic from the street corner, and those are phony motherfuckers. When they want to stand in the corner, don't want to stand in the middle of the intersection where you could probably get hit to do something that needs to be done. You want to stand from the street corner where it's safe and take no risk, but still assume all the authority that comes with risk. Sorry, doesn't work that way. Reminds me of this old adage, hey, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. How the fuck's that gonna work? There's no heaven on earth, bucko. These ain't even gender biases in most cases. People just don't actually like you because part of you is unlikable, but they still have to deal with you. They can't just skip you. So a middle ground is either treated or it's ground up into this coarse-ass facade that will just have to suffice because a motherfucker's not it's beating a dead horse even telling you about yourself. You know? Do I even want to fucking continue this shit? Yeah, I might as well. This last little excerpt says, for women, beauty could be a liability. Attractive women can face greater penalties in the workplace for their looks than their male counterparts. Other research has shown that attractive women are often seen as less capable or less qualified for their positions than their peers, and in extreme cases, less trustworthy. Attractive men did not face similar repercussions for their physical appearance. Women feel so much, well, quote, women would feel so much pressure to modify and police their bodies. There's almost no margin for error, says Randy Braun, an executive coach and best-selling author of Something Major, the new playbook for women at work. Women are held to a specific standard of attractiveness and are often punished when they fail to uphold that standard, but then they're punished when they do. It's a lose-lose situation. Gugashvili points out that gender equality in the United States overall could have skewed the results of their research. Oh, okay. The United States ranked 43rd among 143 countries included in the World Economic Forum's 2023 Global Gender Parity Index. The rankings were determined based on the group's gaps in four main areas: work, education, health, and political leadership. That could be one of the reasons why inequality between attractive men and women manifests in the workplace in the United States in such a blatant way. It would be interesting to see if that same issue exists in a more egalitarian country like Finland or Denmark. Yeah, if you talk to Jordan Peterson, he'd tell you they tried it in Scandinavia, and you've seen the widest gap between masculine, and feminine roles in terms of what they wanted to do in a society where they tried to make everything as equal as possible. Men and women still have their designated niches, you know? And I'm sorry, this just sounds like a glorified list of complaints without any real desire to examine why these phenomena occur. Like, for real, like nobody wants to talk about why. They just want to talk about that and what is, but not why. We live in a world where fat shaming is frowned upon. Men are women, and as a man, if you have a standard of beauty that you want your woman to meet, you gotta be a fucking gazillionaire to even hint at suggesting that someone consider, I don't know, not embarking on a gluttonous journey to heart failure and obesity, going to the gym because you care about your own health and not so much what men think, dressing conservatively in general public settings, and not leveraging your intrinsic value so much on your fucking beauty. This is what powerful women have done, and it's worked for them. Look at Oprah Winfrey for an example. Do you think Oprah Winfrey was objectified and subject to how men viewed her at some point? Hell yeah. But she was a brilliantly tough and focused woman, and she overcame a lot of adversity in her life to achieve great success. Women who overly buy into this mumbo jumbo are enclosing themselves in a mental prison indefinitely and don't even know about it. They don't even know about it. You don't even see it that way. You think you're liberating yourself. But it's all under the guise of this, what you think is freedom. You're actually closing yourself out in the long term and you don't know it. So to conclude this shit, still waiting to hear what them benefits was. A bunch of bullshit that basically says men don't get penalized in the same way women do, allegedly, for the same reasons. Ask women if they want to equalize some of the harsher realities for men for the sake of everybody being treated fairly. Like I just got done saying, women will say anything regarding how they feel in that moment, but they cannot and will not hide what they really want. They're not going to do it. Don't hold your breath. And it's up to men to learn, understand, and accept it, so they don't run around talking about all the men who died fighting in wars, getting unfair treatment because they was smoking hot studs. The fuck out of here, man. This is why I tell you, this new research and this new study, when you see that shit, you should be doubly skeptical than you already are. Because it's going to give you some stupid ass shit like this that don't really parse out to anything meaningful. It's just a bunch of fucking garbage. That's the show. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. This ain't your motherfucking mama's podcast. Don't forget it. Until next time, I'll holla.